Hello, everybody. Welcome. Come on in. Welcome to the Clinic Growth Map Success Panel. I'm so thrilled you're here. Will you tell me in the chat? Will you tell me what type of therapist you are and where you are right now in the world, in North America? My name is Nicole McCants, retired psychologist and business coach, and I'm thrilled that you are here. Here's what you need to know. In 1 hour, you will be way more ahead than you are right now. I have the best of the best sharing their success secrets. Hello, Allison from South Carolina. We've got Stephanie from Florida. Come on in, everybody. Here's the truth. Other therapists that are more ahead than you, maybe, they're not sharing their secrets, are they? Do you notice that? Like maybe you'll text a friend and you're like, so who'd you use for Google Ads? Or how did you find your first hire? And they kind of keep their cards close to their heart. Hi, hello, Meg and Kimberly and Laura and Charity. Welcome to the Success Panel. Today, we are sharing the secrets. You get to meet two Americans, two Canadians, both in group practice. Who here is in network or out of network? If you're American, let me know. If you're from Canada, let me know. You're going to meet somebody that is in private pay and built a group practice successfully, thriving, that she loves, and someone who is in network. You're going to meet two Canadians as well. Okay, we have a real mix here. So good. Welcome to the Success Panel. Will you tell me too? I'm really curious if you're in solo and you're so close to starting a group, but you haven't quite hired yet. Will you drop the word solo? And if you already have a group, drop the word group. And even if you have one person, you're a group. You are officially a boss. Okay, we've got a mix here, I would say, of solos and groups. I want you to feel completely supported this hour. Any question you have, please put it in the chat. I have like 6 people from my team in the chat, and there's going to be a live Q&A with the success panelists closer to the end of the hour. Okay, so all questions, throw in the chat. We got you. There's also a bonus. Do you want something? Do you want a gift? You know how much I love giving you things? Do you specifically want 8 steps to a high converting specialty page? That's the page. That's like your EMDR page or your couples therapy page. Do you want that to convert better? If you want that, drop the word bonus. I will pay attention to who wants that bonus, and it is yours. I'll drop that at the end. Look at them all. Okay, amazing. So I'll make sure everybody who wrote in the chat gets it. Before I bring the success panelists up to the stage and we give them the biggest round of applause, I just want to quickly introduce myself. But before I do we already hang out? Are we already business besties? Will you let me know if you already follow me? Maybe it's the podcast. Just drop the word podcast. Maybe it's Instagram. Maybe it's YouTube. Yay. Hi, Connie. Hey, Teresa. Amazing. So good. Or if this is the first time you're seeing this face, please drop the word new. If you're new here, I want to give you the biggest round of applause. Hey, Diane, did I say that right? Michael, Laura, welcome. Welcome to our community. You'll see in the chat, there's a lot of OGs here, and we just want to welcome you with open arms. Because some of you don't know me, I will take less than 2 minutes to let you know who I am. I'm standing before you as a retired psychologist. And let me tell you, every time I say that, it's still shocking. I built a group practice. Well, first, I was in solo practice for 15 years, and I loved what I did. EMDR, couples, any EMDR folks here, couples, love them. But what happened is I became sick of hitting the ceiling in my income. Do you feel me right now? The only way I made money was sitting in front of somebody. And then when I became pregnant with twins, I had to do something different, and I did. And in 3 short years, I grew to 55 therapists, multiple 7 figures, a big group practice. But here's what I'm most proud of. It was systemized. Do you want to create something that could run without you? You were in the right place. Now, here's the thing, though. The moment you create something that runs without you, guess what happens? Somebody wants to buy it. just a matter of time before you get offers. And people in my program are already getting offers. And at first I said no, but it was a psychiatrist and a good person. And I sold it in 2022 for multiple seven figures. And now I teach this for a living, how to scale into a group practice. And you're going to hear, and Cass, bring them up to the stage. You're going to hear from members, graduates of the Clinic Growth Map program, my 6-month business coaching program. You're gonna hear today from Ashley, a psychologist from Alberta. Anybody here from Alberta here? Any psychologists here? You're gonna meet Rachel, a registered psychotherapist from Ottawa, Canada. You can see their lovely faces. You're gonna meet Carla, an LPC from the lovely Chicago. And last but definitely not least, you're going to meet Shireen, a psychologist from California. So good to see you guys. Oh my gosh, you look so good. Okay, ready? Let's dive in. Carla, we'll start with you. If you could, I just introduced you, but maybe just say it one more time, your title, where you're from. But most importantly, how many people are in your group practice and how long have you had it? Let's start there.
Hi everyone, my name's Carla. As Nicole said, it's so good to be here. I'm originally from South Africa, hence the accent, but I do live in Chicago, in Illinois, and I've built my practice there. We turned two on March 1st this year, and we're officially a team of 20 in total, which makes up 15 therapists, clinical director, an admin team, a billing and insurance specialist, and then a social media manager and a website manager. So I've really taken the time to, even though I'm a solo owner, create the different branches that allow me to step back more as an owner, which is from the systems and the guidance that gave us.
Thank you. Ashley, do you want to introduce yourself? How many people are in your group and how long?
Yeah, so as Nicole said, my name is Ashley. I'm a registered psychologist practicing in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And right now we have 10 clinicians in our practice. We started to scale 2 years ago, approximately, and we have two admins, so 12 in total, and looking to hire more even in the next few months here. And also just the success of our practice. We have been so grateful for what Nicole has provided in her program as well.
Thank you. Shireen, you're up next.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, so I am located in San Jose, California, which is about an hour south of San Francisco. I started this practice in 2019, right as I was about to have my first child, which was a little crazy. I now have a total of 20 people in my practice, which is comprised of clinicians as well as testing psychologists as well. And yeah, I think I've absolutely can attribute the growth and just how much more confident I feel as a leader from the coaching program. Absolutely.
Thank you. Rachel.
So I'm Rachel Sturgeon. So I have a practice here in Ottawa, Canada, so in the capital. I've been in private practice since 2011. And so the group started to fall into my lap with taking students. So we've got now 15 therapists, a clinic manager, an IT manager, and we just brought on two new clinic coordinators. And so it's been a crazy whirlwind over the last couple of years, but there's been lots of growth.
So good. Since you're unmuted, we'll start with you. Why did you want to scale? You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, like I said, it sort of fell into my lap. I started taking on students as a supervisor and they kind of wanted to stick around. So I sort of said, okay. And I was getting busier. And so I was kind of just piecing things together as people kind of fell into my lap or people reached out, and was kind of just doing what I thought I could do, but people weren't really getting full and it wasn't really systemized and organized. So I was really looking for something to help me get there. So I consume kind of everything you offer that is free in advance and did a lot of research. And it's really, really helped. And I mean, my number one goal is to fill my clinicians. And we've definitely done that and more.
So good. Carla, what about you? What was the motivator to scale?
Personally, I'm a very type A, plan ahead type of person, and I always knew from my own childhood of being raised by parents that worked very hard and unfortunately weren't as present that I didn't want to be that way as a parent. And I also know that until we scale, we only earn when we work. And I was like, okay, I need to figure out a way that I can still earn while I'm not working so that I can be a present parent. And very, very happy to say that I'm now 6 months pregnant and not scared of maternity leave that's coming up because I'll still be earning. So it feels really good to be at the place that I'm at because of that. That was one of the main motivators is I don't want to work forever, but I still want to make money.
Oh, so good. Wow. Shireen, what about you?
Yeah, I think subconsciously I always knew that I wanted to create something large. But I don't really think it hit me until I was a few years into my individual practice and I got pregnant. And it hit me of like, well, wait, the ceiling that you're referring to hit me. And I said, well, I don't really like that. I don't like the fact that anytime I take time off, I don't make money. And shortly after that, similar to Rachel, I had a potential hire just kind of fall in my lap, and I decided to take them up on it and their interest in joining me. And I also knew I was a person who enjoys wearing multiple hats. So while I love seeing clients and I love being a clinician, I also thrive on wearing different hats, having those challenges. And so I knew that having a group practice was going to give me that, which it absolutely has. And I knew I just wanted to make a difference, not only with clients, but also with clinicians. I had a pretty bad experience being a part of previous group practices. And I remember looking at the owners of the practices and thinking, I feel like I can just do this better. And that's been a really big driver for me since starting and even to this day of how can I make this better and how can I be better from some of those other practices that I feel like aren't treating their therapists right or aren't compensating them well enough or something along those lines. So I feel really passionate, of course, giving back to clients, but also creating an environment where therapists can feel really excited about working. And so that's also a really big driver for me.
Yeah, let me know in the chat if you've ever worked for a group practice that wasn't great. I feel like there's going to be some me's that's being dropped. And I hope that inspired you. I wouldn't allow that to scare you because I think, Shireen, that scares some people where it's like, oh gosh, I don't want to also create something this bad in a way. But I love that it was like, wait a minute, I know what not to do. I think that's what you went with.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I think even like with some recent hires that I've been able to bring in, I hear their experiences at previous group practices, and I'm like, oh, well, you're going to have a very different experience here because we do things quite differently. And so that's also really exciting just to kind of see then the glimmer in their eye of like, oh, I can come into this practice and have value and feel excited and know that there's growth, there's opportunity for growth and continuous learning. So yeah, it definitely lit a fire in me when I had those experiences. And I hope it does for other people who are currently in that position.
Hmm. Ashley, what about you? What had you decide to scale?
Yeah, so I can echo a lot of what Shireen said there too. I was in solo practice for 5 years before deciding to scale. I really also had a passion for just really mentoring and supporting the next generation of psychologists in Alberta here. I know through talking with our clients and through my own experiences that there's a lot of people who have had really horrible experiences in therapy, and I just really wanted to raise or to start a practice where we did things right and where we served our clients well and we really cared about our team and our clients. I also working in solo practice, it was difficult to take vacation with my family. I could take the time off, but then I wasn't earning money. And then just also doing all the things, doing admin, doing the marketing, everything myself. And it was just a lot of work. And I am not a type A personality. And so a lot of the systemizing the practice and building those procedures and manuals and all of those things was definitely not my strength. So it was something I had to spend a lot of time on. So, I'm really happy that we decided to do what we did. And I have a great team that just really supports each other. And as they speak to other therapists, now we're starting to see other therapists apply to our practice because they've heard so many great things about us and just who we are and what we're about. And I think that's really, to me, that's the biggest thing that I'm really proud of in our practice now.
That's such a big compliment, word of mouth, that they're now going to their friends and saying, you need to work here. That's so
Hmm.
good. Yeah. I know that there are people here right now that are so close. Like they're like, I really want this, but what stops them is the limiting beliefs. And I know you guys had them and you overcame them. I want to hear what they were. Rachel, let's start with you.
I think for me, a lot of my limiting beliefs come from feeling not deserving. And I think when we're in this field, it can feel odd to sort of want to make money or to want to have profit and those things. And I think there's also a negative view of that. So I think that's kind of what gets in my way, that we're not deserving, and that if, my income goes up, somehow that's wrong, even though I'm working, so many hours. I mean, less so now, but yeah, so that kind of gets in my way, that deserving success piece.
Yes. I think we all feel that. Anybody else here feel that? Let me know in the chat if you're like, yes. And I think it's part of the brainwashing of our industry that somehow it means that you're a bad therapist if you're doing well. But I feel like I would want my therapist to be living her best life if she's giving me advice, right? Carla, yeah, what about you?
I think for me, it was a lot of it around being a young businesswoman, a young business owner. It's not that long that us as women have been in the position of being owners and being entrepreneurs. And even though it's always been something I'm very passionate about, when we think of a really competent, strong leader, we think of a man. So that for me was, how do I not let my age and not let the fact that I'm a woman not have people take me seriously, and come in super prepared and show all the systems and show why I deserve a place here. So kind of connected to what you said, Rachel, with the deserving piece, but around just identity pieces I can't change. This is who I am, and I deserve a place here, and I'm going to earn my place here.
I love that. So good. Clip that and listen to it a few times. It's quite empowering. Cherie, what about you?
Yeah, I think initially what was the big one for me was, well, I'm a clinician and I'm a trained clinician. I'm not a, how do I don't know how to run a business. I don't, I didn't go to business school. I didn't get my MBA. And so I think that initially was my biggest hurdle. And then shortly after I had, and even coming into your program, Nicole, I had a huge scarcity mindset. There aren't enough clients. Oh my gosh. And especially being private pay, like, oh, are we going to have enough clients who are going to be willing to pay out of pocket? And so I think like those were probably the two biggest limiting beliefs for me. Because when I did start to hire more people, I really was faking it until maybe I felt like I was making it. Like they're looking to me, my staff are looking to me as their leader and their boss. And I'm like, internally, I have no idea what the heck I'm doing. I'm just going to pretend like I do. And cool, and for the most part, it's worked. But I think that that was a really, really tough one that I had to work through of putting on that hat and that identity of, wait, I am a business owner and I am doing this and I am running this and scaling it. And so that was a huge shift of just putting on this new identity and really believing it, and not being shaken by some of the challenges because that could also come up.
Thank you. Ashley.
Yeah, I think scarcity mindset was also did get in the way for me to some extent. I think in the beginning it was difficult to see how investing in people that knew what they were doing more than I did, things like marketing and Google Ads and SEO experts. I really wasn't earning enough, I didn't think, in my practice to be able to invest that money without knowing, if this was going to even be successful, if it was, going to help our business. And so that was difficult in the beginning. I think even when I joined the program, I kind of tiptoed in. I joined just the program without the support of the team at first, because I was trying to save money. And, I wish now that I would have just jumped in right from the start. But I just really had a hard time in the beginning believing that it was worth spending, the money and investing in all of these experts that were going to help us be
Yeah.
successful. Yeah.
Did the community help you? So I also did business coaching, and there was something about the other people taking the risk before me. It reminds me of the cottage. I'll be on the boat and you can't see, like the water's dark, but everybody else will jump in the water and then they don't die. And then I'm like, okay, I can do it now. Like, was that helpful?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in before joining this program, I had actually done some coaching with a business coach that was local in Calgary here, but not in in therapy, not in a counseling practice. And so, although they had some great business ideas, they really didn't understand, our business. And I think that that was really valuable to me to see that other people, were experiencing some of the same hurdles, that they were having some of the same challenges, and that was really helpful.
Yeah, we're so highly regulated. So a lot of the things other people tell us to do, we're like, well, sorry, I can't, not allowed. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's get to the good stuff. Everybody wants to know right now what's working with attracting clients. We'll start with you, Carla. I'll change it up. Yeah. What are you finding is your best one or two client getting strategy?
I love this question because I think there's just so much gatekeeping in our field, like you mentioned, and people are scared to share their success tips. And I always say the world is overpopulated. There's clients for everybody. We can all succeed. We can share our secrets, and it doesn't mean that one will succeed over the other. So for me, something that I hear your voice a lot, Nicole, with the specific statement is I have to spend money to make money. And that comes with marketing as well. Clients will find you because next to payroll, and rent, mortgage, marketing is my biggest expense, and it has to be. And I think a lot of the time that's a mental shift that people don't always or are scared to make. That if I invest in a social media manager, in a website person who's actually maximizing my SEO so that Google can find my therapist and find me, and actually have Google ads by someone who knows how to do it, following the trends, of course, of the marketing at the time. It's so important because our field is extremely saturated. There's a lot of therapists. So you have to make yourself stand out. And I think another big piece that's been successful for us is one of the members of my admin team, one of her roles is to connect with all the solo practices, the PCPs, the OBGYNs, the schools, the churches, the hospitals in the area to get our name on their referral list. I don't have the time to do that, but it's one of her duties. And then we get to create those referral networks, those partnerships, makes a big difference. But you need someone to do that. And I spend money by hiring her to do that. So the whole mindset of spend money to make money, you have to spend money to make money.
Yeah, what a great mindset shift. I had to make that as well. Thank you. I just want to jump in about that. I know we're all afraid of the bots that they're taking over, but here's one thing AI, ChatGPT, the big bad bots don't have connection and community. Steal this idea. It's a beautiful one. Relationships, reaching out to people. We're so craving that more than ever. What about you, Rachel?
So I would say, similar to what Carla said, I think you really do have to spend money to make money. I hear that all the time when people talking about this oversaturated market. And I actually don't believe that at all. I think if you're a good therapist and you put in the time, you get busy. As a group practice, though, you do have to invest a lot in Google ads. So getting over the hurdle of like how much money you have to spend. I'm fortunate here in Ottawa when I compare to other people from the program in Toronto, I don't have to spend as much to get as much. It's been really successful in working with the right people. But aside from that, I find I'm part of a lot of Facebook groups that are either local to Ottawa or Ontario with other therapists, as well as parent groups, neighborhood groups, things like that. And so, like, truly my time on Facebook is marketing. Hey, somebody's looking for a therapist and kind of really getting the names out there because we know with marketing, the more they see your name, the more they see your brand, the more people think of you top of mind. So really connecting in that way, as well as connecting with other therapists, even other group practice owners in the city as well for cross-referencing and things like that. If we're a one-stop shop, we have everything, so we can kind of take what other people can't. So that really helps as well. So those connections and that networking is huge.
Yes, and this is why we have a digital marketing person that coaches you every single month in the program because it's so important. The key, what you said, was a good Google Ads person. Anybody here try Google Ads? Tell me in the chat, and they just haven't worked. If they haven't worked, it's usually your website that's not well branded, like Carla mentioned, or like everybody here mentioned, finding the right person. But I want you to take away this. Even if your ROI isn't as high as you like, know this, like Carla said, or I think it was, I don't even know who said it now, Rachel, they need to see your name a bunch of times. Sometimes it's up to 9 times. So even though they didn't click yet, they're so close to clicking because you keep popping up. They're seeing you everywhere. So know that. Shireen.
Yeah, for me, two things absolutely was investing in my website and SEO, which is like the long marketing game, I think, and Google Ads. And I cannot stress enough finding the right person for your Google Ads. I have wasted time and I had wasted money working with people who were promising things, didn't get it. And so that's what makes tracking your return on ad spend so crucial. And doing that from the beginning is so important. And I'm saying that from learning from my own mistakes, which I didn't do initially, running ads for months and being like, yeah, I think it's working, and realizing actually, no, it's not. And so, just yesterday I was meeting with my website content and SEO strategist, and I'm just it feels like I'm just forking out more and more money into it, but I don't have a problem with it. Why? Because I know I get a return on that investment. And I
Mhm.
know that by beefing up my website and making sure that it's easy to click through, easy to book consults through, easy to book initial sessions with, that you get an instant return on investment there. So I think also being sure that you have a really streamlined intake process and not having a leaky bucket is so crucial. I think that's another piece that has to be mentioned here, because you can be spending all of this money on your website and on your ads, but if you have a leaky bucket and your intake process is not nailed down tight, then you're losing people and you're losing then that return on investment. So I think those are the things that really stick out to me.
Yes, if I can jump in about that, I don't know if you do this, Shireen. I would have your admin jump on your website almost daily. Make sure that the internet gremlins are real, guys. They break things when we sleep. I don't know what happens. All the links work, the whole flow to your online booking, the contact form is working. Because just yesterday in coaching, somebody's like, my ads, something's not wrong with my ads. And guess what? It was just something small that had broken, and they just didn't know. But like Shireen said, just know you can typically, do you know, actually, maybe you can tell them a typical ROI is about 4 times. Do you happen, not to put you on the spot, do you happen to know yours?
Yeah, mine is generally between 3 to 5, 3 to 5
Yeah, there you
times.
go.
Yeah,
Guys,
yeah.
I just want to be clear about this. 3 to 5, so we'll go with average of 4. That's 400% return. Yes, you heard that right. You will get that nowhere except Vegas right now. Don't go to Vegas. So I would try Google Ads. Amazing. Thanks, Shireen.
Yeah.
Ashley.
Yeah, so definitely same thing here. Google Ads and SEO, having the right person who knows what they're doing and knows how to maximize your return on investment there was really helpful. We're at the point now where, and fortunately, actually, when I began in solo practice, that was the one thing I did spend money was hiring a branding expert to design my website and help me with that. And I think because I did that in the beginning and because my website's been running now for several years, even before I scaled to group, our SEO was quite strong. And our Google ads, now that they're working really well and we know what our return on investment is, it's such an easy thing to, if we're hiring a new therapist or if we're bringing in new people, we can actually just increase our ad spend and we know that we're going to bring in more clients. And so that's just such a well-oiled machine that it just works without me having to do much of anything with it, which is the best part of it is I'm not spending extra time going in there and um, you know, um, my SEO expert adjusts everything for me, and we meet regularly just to make sure everything's working properly. Also just, now that that's running really well, we just have drips going into many different buckets now. One thing that I really like seeing right now is that the like interclinic, I guess, referrals is that we do work with families. And so we're seeing a lot of our clinicians refer, their children to another therapist or, mom and dad for couples therapy with this therapist. And our team feels so confident in what we provide as clinicians in our practice that, those referrals are really increasing right now. We also, do have great relationships with the churches and schools in our area. So that networking piece is really important too. We're in a big professional building with several other psychologists as well who are in solo practice, but who I've known for several years now. So we have several touch points with them. We do little things like we did just a gift at Christmas time, just a gratitude practice, little gift that we sent to each of the businesses in our building, just to, let them know who we were, to give them something that we were offering for free that would actually hopefully increase the morale in their business as well. And
What was it? I'm curious.
we just did a little gratitude practice or package. So we gave them a bunch of cards and we gave them some information on how gratitude can actually increase morale in your business and on your team. And we invited them to have their team write things that they were grateful for in their practice or in their business, and just string them up on we provided them with the string and all the, material to do this gratitude board or this gratitude project, and my admin put it all in a neat little box, and all the therapists actually went and delivered them to all the businesses in the building and in the area.
Oh, I love that. Oh my gosh, it's such a feel good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of you said school. So before we move on to the next question, I know people are wondering, okay, so I have a kid that's in a school, but how do you make that connection? Who wants to jump in about how they've made that work? Rachel, I think you mentioned, or Carla, was it you?
A lot of the times it's just looking which are the schools that are in walking distance of your office, because those are the ones that it's super convenient for their kids to then after school come to your office for therapy. Going on their website, phoning the receptionist, and who can I speak to about mental health services and therapy for the children, teachers, parents at your school. They're very open to connect. We've done a few free trainings or free presentations at the schools just to get our name out there. So a 30, 45 minute presentation on a topic related to what's going on in children of that age at the time. And then they just start to, once you get one, I feel that parents all start talking, teachers all start talking, and you become their number one referral. So it's just about researching who's near to you and then finding their number online. Thankfully, we live in a time that you can find almost anyone's number online, giving them a call and seeing, are you talking to the right person, or who can you talk to that can put you in connection with the person around mental health services for the school.
Thank you for that. Did you hear that? It's just about picking up the phone. She had the courage to do it because I know you want to do it, but sometimes you tell yourself maybe you'll do it tomorrow. But what helped me is I reminded myself, we're professionals. They are excited when they get a call from a psychologist or a therapist. They really are, especially love what you said, Carla. If you offer a lunch and learn or a masterclass for parents, my kids' school offers that all the time, how to handle ADHD, emotional regulation. They're hungry for it. And it's just about picking up the phone. Yeah. One question about churches. So if someone doesn't go to church, where do you start? Same thing? Rachel, you mentioned churches.
No, I did not, unfortunately. I
Oh,
mentioned
okay.
church. It
Or
wasn't me.
Ashley.
So I did, yeah.
Yes.
So I've also done, so a lot of churches in our area do have preschools and do have other programs where, because we work with kids, we can offer information to parents. So we've reached out, we've done also presentations at churches for their preschool group, or even just for their parenting groups at the churches, to offer them information about, anxiety in teens, or, how to parent young preschoolers. So a lot of presentations that we do. And I'm not sure how things work in the United States or in other provinces, but in our areas, a lot of churches have what they call a benevolent fund as well. And if they have a member who is needing therapy or who has come to the church with some problems, and they think that therapy would be beneficial for them, they will actually provide that person with an amount to for 6 to 8 sessions of therapy, and so we have established those contracts with those churches. Now, for us, we do have a large portion of our practice has faith-based counselors as well. So a lot of churches will want to know that if they are sending people to a practice, that they are sending them to a faith-based counselor. So that is something that we do have, and we do. It works similar to an insurance plan, where we contract with the church to provide services for the client for free.
So good. Run with that idea. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Shereen, I'm curious to know how much your life has changed. You have a really big practice, just in terms of after graduating from the clinic growth map, in terms of flexibility in your life, freedom, even income?
Yeah, I mean, I would say pretty significantly. I mean, before the program, I feel like I was glued to my phone, felt like I needed my laptop with me all the time, felt like when I was vacationing, I had to be connected to the staff. That's doesn't happen anymore. Now I have staff, support staff and my practice director who can take care of all of that stuff. And so I think freedom for sure has really kicked in, which I love because then I can have some time with my children and I can have some time investing in doing other things for the business that I want to grow and scale. So that's really exciting. And then I think, of course, as we all can agree to, as you bring in more staff and you bring in more clinicians and overall you're seeing more clients, that's more revenue, right? And so that does definitely help with you feeling like you're being compensated well as the owner for all of the hard work that we've been putting in over the years. And so, I think the fact that the very thing that I remember thinking about before I started the practice, which is like, oh, it would be so nice to be able to travel and not have to, and still be making money. And I wouldn't have to worry about, are my clients okay? I'm at that place now. I'm at that place now where I can do what I'd like to do with my family and not have to worry about being glued to my phone and know that I'm still bringing in money. And that I think is a huge win. That is like goal achieved right there in terms of thinking about flexibility, freedom, and income moving in the direction that you want. So, and then I think, as I continue to scale, I do have in the back of my mind at some point selling. And so even just thinking about that and thinking about how that would also in turn change and shift my life financially and giving us more freedom, giving my family more freedom, I think is also really exciting to just continue to look down that path and know that that's likely ahead of me.
So proud of you. It's awesome.
Thanks.
Carla, what about you?
Me too. Life has dramatically changed, but I also want to just name because I know a lot of the people that are joining today's call are maybe in the contemplation stage of taking this big jump. It doesn't come without the hard work up front. So the first 6 to 8 months through the program and then graduating, they were very long, 12 to 14-hour days, almost every day to get everything up and running. But that was also because of the pressure I put on myself with the timeline, because of this question of how has life changed. So I wanted to get things running, hit the ground running. You could obviously do it slower, but none of this, Nicole gives the most amazing systems, but you do have to make it work and you have to do the work to bring the systems to life in that way. And I think the best example I can think of is last year in August, I had unexpected surgery at 6 weeks' notice that I'm going to be having knee surgery. And I thought to myself, okay, this wasn't on my timeline at all. What am I going to do with work? What am I going to do with earning money? The practice is growing. We've just gone through a hiring round. But again, because I had created those systems, I ended up being able to take 4 weeks to fully recover properly and made more money than I did prior to starting the group practice without working. And it was the first test run of, okay, I got to the point now that I don't have to work to earn the money, if not more than I was prior to working. And when I first started the program, I was doing 29 clients a week, burnout central. It was impossible. So I do think from a financial perspective, there's a big change. But again, you have to recognize the lead up to that. Like now I can invest a lot more in marketing than I could when I first started. So thinking, what can I do right now with the money I'm making? What's the lowest salary I can take as the owner to put that in to then earn the financial freedom? I recently went on a vacation. I was able to step away and not have any cell phone coverage for a week. And it was fine. And people wouldn't necessarily say that for a practice that is so young and is growing so rapidly. But again, having those people. So I think something I see a lot of the times with my fellow business owners that didn't do the program is the fear of hiring support and wanting to do it all by themselves. So wanting to do admin all by themselves, wanting to do billing and insurance all by themselves. If you do insurance, you can't do it all by yourself because you will burn out, you will get too busy, and then you're not reaping the benefits of actually having a practice and putting your energy into the avenues that continue the growth of the practice to get that freedom.
Thank you for that. What about you, Rachel?
So I'd say I've definitely cut back my client hours, which has been huge for me so that I can work on the business. But my lifestyle has changed in the sense that I'm able to take more time off like everyone else has kind of said, my goal is to be off all summer. And so I think before the program, I was off for maybe 2 or 3 weeks in the summer. And this year, I am only seeing clients 4 weeks of the whole summer. So I'm able to spend a lot of time with my kids, and which has been great. And I can kind of work around that. And yeah, and like others have said, when you've got other people doing some of that work, especially the admin, I mean, the biggest thing I hear so many people, even still at early stages of the program, afraid to hire an admin. It makes all the difference. I have a rock star. She's amazing. I mean, she's been with me for a year, and she went from, I was so afraid to spend the money on hiring her because I was like, oh, I don't have the cash flow. So she started with like, oh, I can't guarantee hours. She's now working 30 hours a week, no problem. And it allows me to step away when I need to. She's now clinic manager, and we just hired 2 more clinic coordinators. So the more people you can add, the more freedom you get. So spending time with my family, even spending time with myself. I took a random day off and went to Le Nordique just outside here in Ottawa, which is like a beautiful Nordic spa. So being able to do that and put my phone in that locker and know that I'm not going to come back to 400 different fires, which I think before I hired people and scaled and systemized, that definitely would have happened.
I still remember this convo with you when we hired her. I feel like I hired her
Yes.
too. Yeah, that's so great. So amazing. And did you
Yeah.
feel again that it was the community being like, okay, well, she hired admin, like I'm seeing people do it and I'm seeing people love it. I think that made a difference.
Yes.
Yeah.
It definitely makes a difference. And I think even like just helping other people as I got further in the program, like that's the move you want to make. And I know you tell us that from the beginning, but I think there's so much fear. But that investment really does bring back so much and really gives you, especially the first admin hire, so much freedom, really to step away. Like I remember I went away once before I had an admin, and I had my senior therapist kind of in charge, and I was just terrified. She's wonderful, but it's hard to put somebody like that in charge. So having that admin support really gave me all the freedom to do what I want with my family, vacation, not stress, and all those lovely things.
Ashley, what about you?
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest changes actually is that I pay myself first now. So I earn a salary. Get paid the same amount if I'm at the practice or if I'm not. Currently I'm actually at our vacation property in British Columbia where we, plan to spend our summers eventually. This year is the first year that I'm able to spend a total of 4 weeks here. And I'm able to do that, and the practice is still running. I have to do very little. When I'm out here for a month or 2 months, I might log in here and there to just check on a few things or do some things. But really, it's given me so much freedom to be able to spend time with my family at the place that we love, and pay myself first. You know, just with the admin support, that being what Rachel said, is that even one of my therapists came to me just a couple of weeks ago and asked if she could add more hours, more days at our practice while she's working at another practice as well, because she really values the admin support. Even just as a contractor, she's seeing the value of being able to come in and do her work, and not have to, communicate with the clients about, how much their assessment is going to cost and what they're still required to pay, and, how to book their appointments and all of those things. She's even noticing a difference in that, and wants to work even more for our practice because of that.
This makes me so happy. I'm so thrilled for all of you. Thank you for sharing and inspiring everybody today. Just know that there's someone here that you made a difference for. Like they needed to hear that. There was like that one thing that you said. Cass is going to move the panelists backstage just for a second, and then we're going to do an encore, and they're going to answer your questions. Did you put your question in the chat? Make sure you do. Okay. So I want to make sure that you don't leave here without your questions answered. Tell me in the chat, how do you feel? Drop a word. Inspired, how do you feel? Drop one word. Let me see it. Better, encouraged, says Meg. Excited, says Jamie. So good. Hopeful. Oh, I love that, says Terry. And Lisa, who is ready to increase their income without the trial and error? It's exhausting. I was you. Whack-a-mole was my favorite game. Spaghetti on the wall was my other one. Do you want access to the clinic growth map? The same map that they did. They did my 6-month business coaching program. There's an opportunity for you on this call to book a call. It's free. We're going to drop the link. It's a strategy call. It's 45 minutes. People don't offer free calls anymore. I want you just to bring your questions to, because you've got the possibility now and you feel this like inspiration, like maybe I can have this. And they'll answer your questions to see if you'll be a good fit for the clinic growth map, the exact same 6-month business coaching program that all 4 people did. There are limited spots. So I would click that link. At the very least, it's going to give you clarity, but I want you to know that you can also do this. You and I are not different. Know that. We all have different backgrounds and so on, but I really want you to know that you can have this. Here's my mantra. You might have heard me say this. I know some of you have. Do it scared. You see, fear, my friend, does not mean stop, even though it definitely feels like it. Because your nervous system is like, freeze, stop, I'm terrified. I don't know. You heard us have those conversations about fear, but I vividly remember before I had a practice that I sold for multiple 7 figures. I was sitting in a hot tub with my husband, Dan, and I turned to him and I said, babe, I think if I do this, I think if I do it, even though I'm so scared, I actually think I could win. Like, I really think I can do this. 55 therapists 3 years later, one of the biggest clinics in Toronto. And I was as scared as you are now. So just know it does not mean stop. Who's ready? Will you tell me in the chat? Who's ready to do it scared? Who is like, okay, deep breath. Yay, Connie, amazing. Did you know that most people make 20% of the income of their closest friends? Yay, Jason and Allison and Meg. Did you know that? I'm just going to repeat that one more time. Most people earn, think of all your friends, all the people you hang out with, within 20% of the income of their closest friends. And that's partly why I got a business coach. She was not a therapist. There was no real, back then, psychologist doing this. I wanted to up level my life, but that meant finding another community. Because guys, people don't have these conversations, do they? Are you chatting about this with your neighbor or your best friend? Probably not. Come join us in the clinic growth map. You do not have to do it alone. Before I bring them up in just a sec, I have a question for you. What is it costing you? What is it costing you to work so much, or all the trial and error? Or maybe you're not working enough because the clients aren't there and you don't know how to get them. What is it costing you? Tell me in the chat. Here's what it was costing me. I'm going to tell you something very vulnerable, and I know some of us just met. There were some days in solo practice where I had new babies. I was a new twin mom. And I worked so many back-to-back clients in a day. I would get home at 7 p.m. My family hadn't seen me all day. And my poor husband would want to talk to me. And I had no conversation left. Anybody feel that? I literally was focusing on humans all day, that when I got home to those who mattered, no conversation left. I don't want to admit that, but it was true. And guess what I wanted to do? Television. Something super trashy like Superstore. Anybody else like that? Like, just all I wanted and craved. And that was my burnout barometer. Is I was like, okay, this isn't the mom I want to be, the wife I want to be. And thank God Dan loved me through it. I'm seeing some of you, yes, are also feeling that. I want to leave you with this. And tell me if you booked, tell me those who booked. I see some of them come through. Congrats. And then we're going to bring them back up. Everything you want, everything you desire, you probably, if you're on the podcast, you know I'm a big believer in energy manifestation. Everything you desire is already here. It's already here. It's just about learning to receive, to allow. We had conversations today about deservedness. Part of this is also a mindset shift, and I can teach you how I did it so you can have it too. Are you ready to bring them back and get all of your questions answered? Kaz, you can bring them back up. Round of applause, drop an emoji for our panelists. And think about, if you haven't put your question in the chat yet, throw it in there and they will answer. Again, there's so much gatekeeping. These group practices just like other group practices aren't answering these questions. And congratulations, Barbara and others for booking a call. All right, so Haley is going to join us and read the questions. We've been gathering them.
Hello, hello. So we're going to start from the chat. Our first question is from Jacqueline, who asked, what would you say causes a leaky bucket?
Shireen, do you want to take that one?
Oh yeah, I've had firsthand experience with this. A leaky bucket could look like a bunch of different things. One could be a potential client calls and you take days to call back. And say you do call back and you just leave a voicemail and then that's it. You don't call back again and you don't put out any other attempts at trying to reach out. That would be a leaky bucket because we do want to try to reach out at least a few times, multiple ways, whether it's text or email or call. So that would be one example of a leaky bucket. Another one is say they schedule a first session with a client or a first consultation with a therapist and they cancel or they need to reschedule and nobody follows up to actually try to reschedule or try to get that new client back into the door. That would be a leaky bucket. So it's generally like a lack of follow through with potential new clients that are coming in, not reaching out enough. If you reach out once, that's not enough. I think it can be one of the easiest slippery things that, especially when we're really busy and overwhelmed, if we don't have good processes and systems in place, we can easily, lose track and lose sight of, well, who has to get followed up and who hasn't. I think another leaky bucket is say you have a first session with a client and there's no follow-up session scheduled. The client says, oh, okay, I'll schedule later and not following up about that. That can also be a leaky bucket. So, what we always want to remember as practice owners is when people are reaching out, that's a time when they are feeling vulnerable and feeling brave. And so we really want to try and scoop them up when they're ready to go and make sure that we do put in the effort to reach out multiple times. And when they do need to reschedule or cancel, get back on it and try to, get them in the door and get them scheduled for multiple sessions. Because, that just ensures your ROI for sure. And it also ensures this client being able to get the help they need.
Oh, thank you for that. Something I heard the other day, I don't know if you saw it on my Instagram, is double dialing. So have you guys noticed that sometimes when you call, they just don't pick up and you're like, oh, you did the contact form, like, why aren't you like booking? And it can be frustrating, but try double dialing. I heard this from another business coach. So what it is you call and they don't answer. Like, do you answer your phone? I don't. It usually says likely spam. Then I just listen and don't answer. But then get your admin to call back right after, immediately after, and they pick up. Think of you. If someone calls and then calls again, they pick up. Just try the double dialing and it will increase at least the conversion of them picking up the phone. That's a hack that I haven't shared much yet. Okay, Haley, next question.
So our next question is actually also for Shireen, and this is from Rachel. Can you talk a little bit more about your intake process?
Yeah, so our intake process works. First, we do use a CRM, which is a client resource management, and that just helps us track all of the potential leads that are coming in. We refer leads as potential new clients. And so a potential lead may reach out to us via phone, via a contact form on our page, or through Psychology Today or some other type of listing that we're on. And my intake coordinator contacts them immediately, pretty much the second we get the call in, and looks to schedule a consultation with a therapist. And practices do this differently. Sometimes they just go ahead and schedule the first session. For us, we really like to give the client a potential to first have a consultation with a therapist. And so we go ahead and schedule that within 24 hours, most likely the same day. And then that potential client has the consultation with the therapist, and best case scenario, the therapist goes ahead and schedules the first session from there. And so that's generally how it goes. Of course, that's just the most ideal way where it just happens, right away. But sometimes we get missed calls, or like Nicole is saying, we can't get a hold of them. And so my intake staff and coordinators, they know that they need to reach out at least 3 times, and within 24 hours, and to also reach out in multiple ways, whether it's through phone, through email, or through text, because you never know what their preferred mode of contact is going to be.
Thank you. Really good.
Beautiful. Our next question from the chat is from Barbara. I have lost experienced clinicians. Sometimes I feel like I'm running a private practice internship. How can we prevent this?
That's kind of funny. Who wants to jump in about that one? Carla? So I think the question is about retention, right? How to keep, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's all about offering something that A doesn't exist. So a big part of what my practice is built on is I always say we swim upstream when it comes to retention and turnover being so high in our field. So we do a 4-day work week. We don't let them have any more than 3 sessions back to back without a break. When we see one of my admin team members monitor the schedules, we see they start scheduling 4 or 5 clients back to back. We check in. This is Burnout Central. So they really appreciate the person who cares and the accountability to make sure they're making sustainable practices in their work. And then also making it as easy for them as possible because we live in a world that they can just go and open up their own practice. So we take all marketing responsibility. They don't have to find their clients, we find them for them. We take all billing and admin responsibility. We give them the highest commission split that's possible to still support the sustaining of the business. And I'm also, one of my key values at my practice is I'm very transparent. So my fully licensed therapists, I will share with them obviously appropriately, this is your commission split, this is what has to be kept for taxes, this is what you would actually earn if you were by yourself, or you can stay here and we do it all. So it just becomes much more convenient for them where they work in a place that's so systemized, everything is thought through, that they just show up, do their work, do their process note, and that's it. They can't get that as a business owner because there is so much more to it. So I think that's a big retention avenue, as well as continued development. We have to always be learning, growing. So we have EMDR trainings, we have psychopharmacology trainings. What are things that they find valuable that if they weren't working for you, they'd have to go find by themselves? That's the best way to keep your fully licensed therapists. And if you've got those that are on your team that are very ambitious, giving them career opportunities. So I've got one that stepped into a supervisor role. Her trajectory is to become one of the clinical directors one day because I can see that for her, and to then manage the supervisor group. So identify which are the ones that are very strong in leadership, but would still be very loyal to your team, and nurture that. Because if you invest in them, they will remain loyal. If they feel like you're not investing in them and they can do it by themselves, why would they stay?
Yeah. What I'm hearing is you really come from a place of abundance, which can be hard at the beginning because you're feeding this hungry business so much, you know? So good for you. I feel like they feel that and why would I not want to be here and stay here and grow? Just want to touch on that piece. That was really important, that piece about solo. I think people overestimate how easy solo is. I love that you pointed that out. That's actually in the hub now, this whole, like, give them a list. Here's all the things you get. Put it in your phone because sometimes you'll forget the things, like, let me just grab my list here. You've got all of this. And I love that you tied it to how much it would cost them if they did it themselves. Do the math with them. Yeah, Rachel.
Yeah, I wanted to pop my hand in here because I've had 2 clinicians leave to do their private practices. And within 6 months, they have either asked to come back or they've applied to another practice where I know the practice owner who's like, hey, and it's always because the practice isn't growing. They sort of sometimes get spoiled and they think that they can just go on their own and all the clients will follow and they'll be as busy. And they don't see all the things that we do. So like Carla, I'm also super, super transparent of all the things that we're doing. And my senior clinicians who are rock stars appreciate everything. They love just coming in, taking vacation when they want, not worrying about their clients. But yeah, they've all come back who or have tried to join other practices who've gone off on their own.
That's the best compliment, I think, when they leave and they're like, actually, the grass isn't as greener. Yeah. I also
we're at a pivotal time. Sorry, I just want to say one more thing. I think we're at a pivotal time where during COVID, a lot of people are like, oh, everything's virtual. I can open up my own practice. This is so easy. We're at a pivotal time right now where those practices are closing because they weren't built on systems that are sustainable. In my practice alone, I've got 5 clinicians that have come from practices that have closed because the owner couldn't afford it or sustain it anymore. You have to have that business coaching or entrepreneurial or business management support or learning avenue because otherwise this is a business. Even though we're therapists, it is a business. So I think we are in a pivotal time where people are realizing it's not as easy to do it solo, and there's a lot of benefit to be in an established, well-run practice.
I heard our mindset coach say this, which I love, that if they have a solo practice, or if that same person is seen in a group practice on the team page, they're more likely to get booked on a team page because there's this credibility that, oh, well, you're with a group of people that have already trust you. It gives them authority just being connected to a group because they know that they've been vetted, which is kind of cool. And you might even add that to your phone too. Okay, Haley.
Yeah, so our next question is very similar to this discussion. Rachel says it feels like so many clinicians are leaving groups and larger organizations to start solo practices. Now we've touched on how do we keep them, but how do you find the solid clinicians for your group practice?
Who wants to take this one? Ashley?
Yeah, I can jump in here a little bit. I know, I guess a couple of things. Number one is really being confident in, the values your practice has and what your vision for your practice is. If you're really clear on that, then you can be patient and select the type of people that are going to be the best fit for your practice. I've had one clinician leave, and just in, reflecting on everything that went on in that process, she really probably wasn't the best fit for our practice from the beginning. And so I think in the beginning, when you're trying to hire people, there is a sense of urgency that I've got to hire these clinicians, and I've got to, bring someone on board because we have these referrals coming in. And if there's one thing I've learned is to be more patient and wait for those, those hell yes, right? Like the people who are going to be the best fit for your practice, who are going to buy into your values and your vision. And when you find those people, they will be loyal to you. A new thing that I have come across is that through another mentor of mine, just even having so I have my accountant going through and actually providing a comparison chart for my staff that actually goes through, if you were working this many hours in solo practice, this is approximately how much you would earn. If you were working as a contractor in private practice, this is approximately how much you would earn. And if you were working in what did I say there? I said solo practice, group practice, and as an employee, right? Because we do want to bring on some people that would be willing to work as an employee in our practice as well, that just have a greater sense of loyalty and commitment to the practice overall. And sometimes it's a tough sell, right? But when you factor in all the expenses that you have to pay as a practice owner, even expenses that you might have to pay as an independent contractor, all the extra work that you have to put in, vacation time, all of those things, and maternity leave, right? It's a good comparison to look at because people don't know what they don't know, right? There's a lot of therapists coming in thinking that, like you say, it's going to be easy. I'm just going to go out and I'm going to bring in my own clients, not realizing that it might take 2, 3, 4 years for you to build your caseload and to actually be busy with clients. And then in the meantime, what are you going to do then, right? So having that comparison based on some research that we've done can be really helpful too, to just give them an idea of what it might look like if they were to go out on their own.
You heard Ashley say, hell yeah. That's a little word we say at the Clinic Growth Map. You do not want to hire someone unless after that interview that you're like, this is a hell yeah. This is somebody that I can't wait. I hope they accept the offer letter. Be picky, be picky. And one other thing, hire slow, jot that down, fire fast. I'm going to say it again. Hire slow. We have a whole 6-step hiring model that we give members, but fire fast. Yes, I know all of you. You see lots of nods. Yeah.
Okay. On to our next question from Dana. Dana asked, how would you say you define success? Are you comfortable to speaking to the increase in revenue that you saw?
Who wants to chat about this? I don't know if
I
you
can
have to say
jump in
the
here.
exact numbers, but whatever's comfortable. Yeah.
Yeah, I can jump in here because I know for me, in my second goal after filling my clinicians was a certain financial goal. I can say that in the first year after the program, I think I had a 50 to 75% increase in revenue. And I'm on track this year for 100% over last year. So I'm almost at or about at my revenue for all of last year. And that's even after starting the program. So I'm still in growth. So to me, success is that continues to grow and my clinicians get busier. And then once we're sort of settled from growth, being able to really increase my income so that I have more freedom.
Good for you for tracking that. That's amazing about like knowing the exact percentages. Yeah. Anybody else want to jump in?
I feel like success can really mean a lot of different things for us as group practice owners. But when I think about having a successful practice, I think of so many different things. But some that come to my mind off the top of my head, having clinicians who are really happy, having clients give us feedback that they are getting excellent care. And honestly, what's interesting is the last few years, this may sound so weird, but I actually have been paying less attention to the revenue that we've been bringing in. And I've been paying more attention to how many clinicians do we have? Are their caseloads full? My office space, I recently expanded to a bigger office. Are those offices full and are they maximized? Right. And then of course, indirectly that that does increase revenue. But I think, once I hit six figures in revenue, I was like, oh, this is great. Like, okay, now what's the next goal, right? And how can we get even further into past, that $1 million mark? And so, but to me, the money, the revenue number sounds great, but if the revenue is high, but all of those other things I just listed are not great, are not in a good place, then it's not sustainable. And so my goal for success has been making sure all the systems are in place, my staff are happy, my clients are happy, and I've got like steady, continuous scaling that's happening, and then the revenue will naturally increase. And so, but my focus has really been on all of those other things. And then when I see at the end of the year with my accountant, oh, our revenue has increased by X number, awesome. And then that's always like a nice bonus of like, oh, that's great. And that's probably a little bit of a backwards way of doing it for business owners. But that's really worked for me because it helps me stay focused on the things that really matter in the practice.
So good. Okay, Haley, anything else?
Yes, our next question is from Joanne. I think this is a great question for those of you who've had the scarcity mindset about if there were enough patients for all the clinics or if you felt competitive with other clinics. Do you no longer feel this way at this time, or is it an ongoing struggle?
Who wants to take this? I think Rachel, who mentioned scarcity?
I did.
Yeah.
Actually. Yeah, I can mention really quickly and then someone else can jump in. I think it's definitely gotten a lot better. And I think honestly, experience and just history has helped because being now in practice for over 6 years, I see, oh, we're scaling, we're growing. And there are many other practices. In fact, I'm in a highly competitive area. Like therapists are just like overflowing, right? And group practice is actually overflowing and we're still growing. And so I think having that experience firsthand has really helped with that scarcity mindset. And I really have been able to shift, and see that, oh, there's an abundance of clients out there. And fortunately for our industry, and unfortunately just for society, there have been a lot of reasons why people are needing mental health care. And so I see that we're actually doing just fine. And that definitely has challenged my scarcity mindset. So I say, like, with those limiting beliefs, instead of looking for all the reasons why your limiting belief is true, really focus your energy on finding the reasons why it's not true, because they are definitely there.
Really good. Really.
To our next question.
Ashley, do you want to jump in? I saw you on
I
mute.
can jump in on that one as well. I would say, for me, it's not something I struggle with so much anymore at all. We've been very fortunate that we've been hiring faster than I expected, and everybody is full, even through the summer. So typically, in solo practice, I would notice that we wouldn't be as busy in the summer months or at certain points in the year, but we just have had a steady month over month increase in the number of clients and the number of billable hours. And that has not slowed down, which I've been quite surprised about. Also, in Calgary, we're in a very competitive area as well. As I mentioned, even in our building, there's multiple psychologists in solo practice. We have 3 other professional buildings on our street that also have several other group practices. And we're still busy. So it's something that I've come to realize there are so many clients out there that we can serve, and there's lots of business out there for anybody. And if we have a therapist generally who has slowed down or something, they're not as full as everyone else. Usually it's something to do with, we'll just change their bio, or we'll tweak something a little bit. Maybe it's their hours, maybe, so there's usually a reason for that happening. And so we just try to problem solve around that, and see if we can make some changes that would help other, those therapists become full. But it's not something that I really worry much at all about anymore.
Yeah, I think in group practice, because your income is diversified between all of these people, it's not just you. There's one trickle. Now you've got, I mean, some of you on this call have 20 different faucets on, if you will. So you don't feel it as much at all. Yeah, good point.
Beautiful. Our next question is from Paula, who asked, how can you best network with doctors or other health professionals? They always seem too busy.
I have lots to say about this, but it's not about me today. Rachel, do you want to say anything? How do you reach the doctors?
So I still find that could be a challenge, and I think it depends on your connections in the city. So, reaching out, I've spoken to them, especially in my own doctor's office. I know that was an idea that you talked to us about in coaching, and I feel like you maybe mentioned on the podcast as well, is, my doctor's office has, I don't know, 30 different doctors as one of those giant family health teams. So just talking with that, and my own family doctor felt a bit off about it, but the nurse practitioner there was super interested. So every time I go in, I'm like, oh, and we now have a psychologist who's doing assessments, and now we have this, and now we have that. So really talking it up in that way. But there can be like a bottleneck getting through to them. But there's lots of really great ways to do that, which is sort of my task this summer, is to do more of that, more organic marketing outside of my own doctor's office.
Yeah, even your own doctor, guys, literally, or your kid's pediatrician, you're a walking billboard. We'll actually drop that podcast for you. It was how to overcome the summer slump, and I kind of walk you through what to say, how to pass that gatekeeper. But anybody else want to jump in? Any hacks?
They love a lunch and learn. They love if you can only do one a quarter or one a month, budget to take a lunch and learn, contact them obviously ahead of time, but their offices really appreciate when you bring them some food. And then when you just introduce yourself and have human one-to-one connection, it really makes a big difference because they connect with you as a person, not with the practice, not with the service. They remember you as the person, and then they will refer to you. So really incorporating some of that time to do in-person connection is important with the doctor's offices because they are very busy.
Keyword snacks. No one
Yeah.
says no to those, and they're worth it. Like,
Yeah.
I know it's going to cost you. What did it cost you? $100, but like the best $100 you ever spent. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Beautiful. Our next question from the chat is from Dana. How did you decide on whether to do self-pay or insurance?
Shireen, you want to take this one? So we've got two Americans here. We'll go with, yeah, Shireen, then Carla.
Yeah. So when I started my individual practice, I was self-pay. And honestly, I think it was a couple of things. One, just knowing that the reimbursement rates here in California are so low for health insurance, was one reason why I decided to stay out of network. And also, I think it really depends on your area. I do know that some areas people are calling and they really just want to use their insurance. Here, where our location is, people are okay spending out of pocket. And so once I learned that that was the case when I was in my solo practice, and that has really continued through COVID and post-COVID, that people here we're in the heart of Silicon Valley. So people have, luckily they have funds to support their mental health needs outside of insurance. And so I really wanted to stay out of insurance as much as possible if I could. And so I think it does depend on the location, and knowing that I was in a location that I think I could really maintain an out of network practice, I really stuck to it. I did dip my toe in like a couple of years ago with one insurance panel. I'm no longer with them. I'll just say that. Didn't really work out. And so I think location is really important. And I think it's also just being okay with putting in the effort that you do need to put in, and the money, a little bit of extra money in marketing, making sure your site's good, making sure SEO is good, because those are even more important when you're not taking insurance.
Anybody here from California? Because I would say, because it's so highly regulated, I'm in Ontario, which is the most regulated province. California is the most regulated state. I just want to check. I think, yeah, we've got some people here. This is what we teach. Like we have so many people from California. I don't know why. We have a lot in the program. I think because it's so hard to grow. So good for you for figuring it out, doing private pay and doing it in California. Yeah, really good. Carla, so we brought Carla in because she's in network. So we wanted you to get a bit of both.
So, on the opposite end of the spectrum, in the heart of Chicago, there's a ton of group practices and people want to use their health insurance. And for me, a key value is also accessibility to mental health. I opened up a group practice because I can only see so many clinicians, so many therapists, so many clients a week. And if I have a bigger group practice, we're making a bigger impact because I'm really passionate about mental health care and how everybody should have access to it. So personally, I would never not go with insurance because it just cuts out so much accessibility to people who can get into mental health. But there's two big keys. I'm very picky with which insurances I panel with because they do reimburse differently. So for me, I want my clinicians' time to be valued. We do not do the lower reimbursing insurers, and it's obviously different in every state. So we do the top three reimbursement rates so that people get paid fairly, and it's not that far from what our self-pay rates would be. So we get reimbursed quite well. Firstly, and secondly is a billing and insurance specialist because insurance is its whole monster world on its own. And you don't feel the pressure of it if you have a specialist navigating the paneling, the clawbacks, the claim questions, all of that. So I have found it to be very doable. And like I said, the accessibility is just huge because we can say yes 90% of the time because we're a network with the three top providers versus, sorry, we have to refer you out.
Awesome. Thank you, Carla.
Okay, and last but not least, a lovely question from Spencer. How long from the day you purchased the program did it take to fully implement the strategies suggested into your practice?
Ooh, that's good. Carla, do you want to take this one? And then maybe somebody else?
I would say immediately. My first hire was in the program an admin because I very quickly realized I can't do it all on the timeline that I projected. By the time I left the program, I had done my first three therapist hires. I think that's one of the unspoken benefits of joining the program is being surrounded by like-minded individuals who don't see you as competition. Instead, we're all wanting to grow and learn from each other. So it really projects your growth much quicker in that way and you feel comfortable implementing because if something goes wrong or if something feels weird or you have a question, you've got the meeting the next week to ask versus when you're out the program, sure, you can still reach out to therapists you may have connected with in the program, but it's just not as easy. There isn't that access to that community. So immediately during the program started implementing, which is why I referenced those first 6 to 8 months is long days because you're just maximizing your time of having access to Nicole and the community that you're engaged in.
I see you nodding too, Shireen.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I remember probably within the first week of the coaching program, I was implementing things right away, going through the portal and being like, okay, let me start on this and let me start on that. And so I think that's what's so great about it is you're implementing things as the program is starting, and then you can check in with either the community or with you, Nicole, or with the experts with any questions that you have. And so that's what's great is because then you can kind of see where you're at 6 months later, reflect on where you were at when you first started. And you can see that, I mean, I had done so much in terms of just systematizing things, having things more organized, having two admin staff who I didn't initially. So, I mean, that's what I think is also really encouraging is at the end, just seeing how far you came, given that you are able to start things right away.
Rachel, do you want to jump in? Because I know that there's an option to renew, which you've done.
Yes. So I am very type A. So when I joined the program, I think it was like November. By January, I had a meeting with my team. Here are all our new systems. Here's what we're doing, all of the things. And so I took the approach, which I've spoken to other people in the program, done it differently, of going through all the content. I'm really somebody, I want to set the system up and then I want to set it running, rather than kind of constantly making tweaks. So that's kind of how I approached the program. And then of course the experts, and I've stayed in. I took a break for about 2 months. And even in that 2 months, I was like, my questions, I still have so many questions because even as you're growing, I find so much value like in the employment lawyer or HR, all these different options besides the community, which is great as well. but I feel like staying in the program, like it's paying for itself. So it'll be 2 years in November, and I still get value every single week, every single month. I still watch all the coaching calls because I find I get something from everything. There's never a point where I feel like, oh, I've learned it all, because I don't think any of us are there. I don't think we get there. So it's been really great, and yeah, implementing everything as it comes. But it took about 2 months to go through. And like Carla said, many hours of, I said to my family, okay, I need to just sit down and do all this. So I was doing it in a Starbucks. So my kid was at dance class, or, all those kinds of things. So if you really put your head down, you can get through the content portion within a month or two. And then you've got that 4 months if you're only going to do the 6 months to implement and ask all the questions.
Yeah, Spencer, there's a lot to learn, but just know after the 6 months, so Rachel alluded to this, that you can, for like next to nothing, still stay with the community, get access. We have a credentialing company like that coaches you, HR, accounting, like she said, all the things. So just know that it's not like this pressured time. Like I have, because if you think about it, it took me 4 years to build a systemized multiple seven-figure practice, and I give it all to you, all of it. I'm like, here you go, and that can feel like, holy cow, I only have 6 months. So know that. And you also own the content hub your whole life, which I think is important. Raise your hand if you still jump in quite a bit back into the hub to be like, okay, someone left. What do I do? Yeah. Ashley, did you want to answer this one too?
Yeah, and I was similar to Rachel. I think, I jumped in right away and I went through a lot of the material, even on my own to begin with. And then I joined the full program a few months after I went through the material. And I really did find more value in, listening to the meetings and hearing everybody else's questions and having that support and accountability from the program. I also did renew past the 6 months, and I still, even when I didn't have questions, I found it was really helpful. I would jump in on a coaching call or listen to a recording, and people would be talking about things that I thought, I was like, oh yeah, that was really helpful to hear. Or that's something I actually have been struggling with. I just didn't, it wasn't sort of top of mind for me. So there was still value even every week in renewing the program. But yeah, depending on, how much time you have and how quickly you want to get started, you can do it slowly and as you go, or you can jump in and review it all right away. But there's so much there that I found I was, kind of jumping back and forth and refining and changing things even throughout the program too. So
Good.
mhm.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you. Drop a thank you in the chat. You were so generous. You were so generous. I really appreciate your time. And thank you for coming. You, yes, you, the attendee. I hope, how do you feel? Tell me one more time. Thanks a million. Yay. Take all the thank yous in the chat. We're going to drop the bonus before you go. 8 steps to a high converting specialty page. Take this and run. Congratulations to those who booked a call. Cannot wait to chat with you. And we'll see you guys so soon. Thanks again. See you soon, guys. Bye.